There is a number, somewhere between 60 and 150 minutes a week, that most people trying to build muscle never bother to find. They skip cardio completely because at some point somebody told them that running burns the muscle they are working so hard to build. So they stop moving outside the gym. They watch their conditioning quietly fall apart over a 4-month bulk, and they arrive at the end of it heavier, softer, and more winded, climbing a single flight of stairs than they were the day they started. The fear didn't come from nowhere. In 1980, an exercise physiologist named Robert Hickson published a study that has been misread ever since. He took a group of people, had them run and cycle heavily while also lifting, and found that the endurance work blunted their strength gains compared to lifting alone. This became known as the interference effect, and for 40 years it has been passed around gyms as proof that cardio and muscle cannot coexist. What gets left out is the volume. Hickson's subjects were doing 6 days of endurance work a week, some sessions 40 minutes long, running to the point of exhaustion, and then adding intervals on top. That is not a lean bulk. That is training for 2 competing sports at once and expecting to win both. The interference showed up because the volume was enormous, and because most of it was high intensity, and because the 2 demands were placed directly on top of each other with no separation. Lower the volume, drop the intensity, and the interference effect mostly disappears. This is the part that the myth never accounts for. A person doing 90 minutes of easy cardio a week is not in the same conversation as Hickson's runners. They are not competing with their own recovery. They are supporting it. If you'd rather not stitch all of this together yourself, I've already done it for you inside my Lean Bulk program. The link is in the description. Here is where the second half of the story matters, and it is the half that actually makes cardio worth doing during a bulk rather than merely tolerable. To gain muscle, you have to eat in a caloric surplus. That is the whole mechanism. You are asking your body to build new tissue, and building requires more material coming in than going out. The problem with a surplus is that it is easier to describe than to sustain. Most people who fail at a lean bulk do not fail because they trained wrong. They fail because they could not keep eating. Appetite is not fixed. It responds to how much you move. A completely sedentary person on a bulk often finds that a large surplus sits heavily, kills their hunger, and makes every meal feel like an obligation. Add a moderate amount of easy cardio, and something shifts. Light aerobic work improves how the body handles glucose. It moves food through the system at a more comfortable pace, and it tends to leave people hungrier a few hours later rather than less. The cardio is not there to burn the surplus off. It is there to make the surplus eatable. You are spending a few hundred calories in order to comfortably take in a few thousand. So the cardio that works during a bulk does 2 things at once. It keeps your heart and your conditioning intact through a phase that would otherwise let both slide. And it keeps your appetite high enough that the eating stays sustainable. Neither of those competes with muscle growth. Both of them protect it. Now the number. The useful range for someone in a genuine surplus, training hard with weights 3 to 5 times a week, sits between 60 and 150 minutes of cardio across the whole week. Below 60, you are not getting much of the appetite or cardiovascular benefit. Above 150, particularly if the intensity climbs, you start walking back toward Hickson's territory, where the aerobic work begins eating into the recovery your muscles need. Most people do best landing near the middle of that range. 90 minutes a week, split into 2 or 3 sessions, is enough to hold your conditioning, keep your appetite alive, and improve every marker of heart health that matters, without asking anything meaningful from your leg day. The exact split, the exact sessions, and the exact eating schedule that goes with them are all mapped out week by week in my Lean Bulk program. Grab it from the link below before your next bulk. The intensity is where people ruin it. This should be easy cardio, the kind often called Zone 2, where you are working at a pace you could hold a conversation through. If you are gasping, you are doing the wrong thing. Hard interval work and long hard runs are the exact stimulus that fights with lifting because they draw on the same recovery resources, the same central nervous system, the same depleted muscle fuel. Easy, steady work does not. A slow incline walk on a treadmill, an unhurried session on a bike or a rowing machine, a long walk outdoors carrying nothing and rushing nowhere. This is the cardio that supports a bulk. It should feel almost too easy to matter. Modality matters more than people expect. Choose something low impact, and choose something that does not beat up the same muscles you just trained. Incline walking, cycling, the elliptical, swimming, rowing at an easy clip. Running is not forbidden, but running is high impact. It fatigues the legs, and if your legs are already sore from squats, a run is going to interfere with your next lower body session in a way that a bike ride simply will not. The goal is to raise your heart rate and cover some ground while asking as little as possible from the muscles that are trying to grow. Timing is the last variable, and the one most people never consider. If you can, put your cardio on a separate day from your hardest lifting, or at least several hours away from it. Doing 30 minutes of easy cardio the morning of a rest day is close to free. Doing 30 minutes of cardio immediately before you squat is not, because you have spent energy and pre-fatigued the exact system you are about to load. When cardio and lifting have to share a day, the lifting comes first and the cardio comes after, easy and short. There is also a quieter kind of movement that does more work than any of this, and it never shows up on a training log. Walking. The steps you take across an ordinary day, going to work, moving around the house, running errands, add up to a real number, and that number tends to collapse the moment someone starts bulking and decides they need to conserve energy for growth. They start driving to places they used to walk. They sit more. Their daily movement quietly drops by a couple of thousand steps, and now the surplus that was supposed to feed muscle is feeding something softer instead. Keeping your daily steps up, somewhere around 8 to 10,000, does more for staying lean through a bulk than any dedicated cardio session, and it costs you nothing in recovery. Put the whole thing together, and it is not complicated. 2 or 3 easy aerobic sessions a week, 20 to 40 minutes each, kept in a conversational zone, done on low-impact equipment, placed away from your heaviest lifting, and sitting on top of a daily walking habit you protect. 90 minutes of structured cardio, give or take, with your steps holding the floor underneath it. What that buys you is a bulk you can actually finish in good shape. Your resting heart rate stays where it should. Your blood pressure and your cholesterol do not drift the way they tend to when someone adds a lot of food and removes all their movement. You keep the conditioning that lets you train hard, session after session, instead of watching your work capacity erode until a hard set of 20 feels like a medical event. And you reach the end of the bulk having gained the muscle you were after without having quietly wrecked the machine you built it in. The people who avoid cardio entirely are not protecting their gains. They are protecting a misreading of one study from 1980 and paying for it with their conditioning, their appetite, and often the very leanness they were trying to keep. The cardio was never the enemy of the muscle. Done in the right amount, at the right pace, it is one of the few things that lets the whole rest of the plan work. So stop guessing with your bulk. Click the link in the description right now, get my complete lean bulk program, and follow the exact cardio, macro, and training blueprint from day one. 60 to 150 minutes a week. Easy. Low impact. Kept away from the barbell. That is the range, and almost nobody who is afraid of cardio is anywhere inside it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.